Hello and welcome to No Wrong Questions Bible Study Pod. You called it No Wrong Questions Podcast, and I like that better.
Oh.
I think because I think Bible study implies
Mhm.
something that this isn't, and this is more of if
Right.
you've never been here before, which would be weird, not very weird, but like we're right in the middle of
Welcome to the middle of things.
welcome to the middle. We read every verse, we talk about it, and we're not Bible scholars, Bible teachers,
Mhm.
just talking about it with you guys.
Yeah.
For now, these are pre-recorded. Love to see you in the live chats when we're able to see you. Unfortunately for me, my 2 boys' bedtime is like 6:30 at this point. So
Yeah, it's not great timing.
I have a really hard time getting I begin their bedtime at 6:30. Really hard time getting into the chat with you guys
Because she
lately.
hates you guys.
It is because I hate you guys.
Mhm.
All right, Liz, will you pray for us
Yeah.
before we get going?
Oh, Jesus, thank you so much for your word. Thank you for allowing us to be free to discuss it on. I know I thank you for that a lot, but I'm still thankful for it.
Mm.
And I ask that you just minister to people's hearts, help us to see what you have to say, help us to not fall into error or to lead anyone else into error. Please help us all to be edified and drawn closer to you through this. And I pray if there's anyone listening who is not saved, that they will be saved, and that
Mm.
you would draw them to your heart. And I pray this in Jesus' name, amen.
That is a bold prayer for a Leviticus Bible study, Liz.
Stranger things have happened, probably.
Hey, God can certainly do it.
If you get saved because you read Leviticus, either because of this or previously, just tell me. I want to know.
I really want to know.
You know anyone?
I just realized that I didn't pull up the chapters. Okay, so Hebrews
that I'm proud of you
8.
because it was a mistake.
We're going to be in Hebrews 8, and then when we get over to Leviticus, it's going to be Leviticus 17. That was not actually that hard to set up. Okay, so what we'll do, as we usually do, we do 1 or 2 chapters of Hebrews, and then we do as many chapters of Leviticus as it takes to round out the hour. So, Hebrews 8. This is, we've said it before, and I'll keep saying it, the most difficult linguistically book in the Bible.
Yes.
It is the highest flutinist Greek.
Attic Greek, because it's up in the attic, right?
It's not quite attic, but it's the highest level of koine.
Okay.
It's starting
Koine.
it's starting to creep up into attic a little bit. It's certainly the most intellectual book of the Bible written at the highest reading level of the entire Bible.
So it's like if Koine is 8th grade reading level, this is 9th grade reading.
Sure. If that's what you need. Okay. Verse 1 of chapter 8. Now the point in what we are saying is this. We have such a high priest. Okay, so that feels like we need to go back and remind ourselves of
talking about in the line of Melchizedek rather than in the Levitical. Whereas in Levitical, you had to do daily offerings for themselves and then for the people. Jesus doesn't have to do offerings for himself and once and for all offering for the people. We have that kind of high priest.
I think what I'll do is start in Hebrews 7, verse 26 and just kind of flow through. For it was indeed fitting that we should have such a high priest, holy, innocent, unstained, separated from sinners, and exalted above the heavens. Of course, we're talking about Jesus. He has no need, like those high priests, to offer sacrifices daily, first for his own sins and then for those of the people, since he did this once for all when he offered up himself. For the law appoints men in their weakness as high priests, but the word of the oath, which came later than the law, appoints a son who has been made perfect forever. Now, the point in what we are saying is this. We have such a high priest, one who is seated at the right hand of the throne of the majesty in heaven, a minister in the holy places, in the true tent that the Lord set up, not man. Tent being a reference to the original tabernacle, which was a tent as opposed to Solomon's temple, which is built later, or the second temple, these buildings. But the first was a tent. The true tent that the Lord set up, not man. For every high priest is appointed to offer gifts and sacrifices. Thus, it is necessary for this priest also to have something to offer. Now, if he were on earth, he would not be a priest at all, since there are priests who offer gifts according to the law. They serve a copy and a shadow of the heavenly things. For when Moses was about to erect the tent, he was instructed by God, saying, "See that you make everything according to the pattern that was shown you on the mountain." But as it is, Christ has obtained a ministry that is as much more excellent than the old, as the covenant he mediates is better, since it is enacted on better promises.
Side note, the pattern he was shown on the mountain, was he just given a glimpse into heaven, like how heaven is laid out?
I wonder. Very likely, I think. At least he was given images, like verbal description, yes, but also it seems in Exodus where it's talking through, it seems that he also sees something.
Because I always thought, like, if I followed the verbal directions, I probably wouldn't accomplish what was pictured because you also have to see it.
Verse 7, for if that first covenant had been faultless, there would have been no occasion to look for a second. For he finds fault with them when he says, behold, the days are coming, declares the Lord, when I will establish a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not like the covenant that I made with their fathers on the day that when I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt. For they did not continue in my covenant, and so I showed no concern for them, declares the Lord. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, declares the Lord. I will put my law into their minds and write them on their hearts. I will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall not teach each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them to the greatest. For I will be merciful toward their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more. A couple things about this prophecy. Number one, it's from Jeremiah 31. Number two, this is not about the church. This is about Israel. It's very clear. There's this huge push in a lot of Christian circles to say, oh, no. The church is Israel. We were grafted into Israel, but promises like this that were made to Israel were not secretly for the church. I find the idea that God sneakily gave a prophecy to Israel, but doesn't have to fulfill it to the people he gave it to because he changed the definition of what Israel was.
That's what a human would do.
Yeah, that's that's human crappy lawyer stuff. That's not how God operates. That's dishonest.
That's what I would do if I were trying to prove that I had legitimate line to the throne. Like, I'm part of the family.
Yeah.
Also, the distinction of the house of Israel and the house of Judah. We don't claim that we replaced Judah. So what's this distinction here?
Right. Yeah. That he's specifically talking about Israel. And he's saying, I will put my laws into their minds and write them on their hearts, and I will be their God, and they shall be my people. At first, this sounds like the work of the Holy Spirit and conscience. And I think it is. But then it goes further. It goes beyond that too. And they shall not teach each one his neighbor and each one his brother, saying, know the Lord, for they shall all know me. We are called as believers with the Holy Spirit in our hearts, teaching us the things of God to go and preach the gospel. So we're talking this prophecy from Jeremiah is talking about something even beyond that, where people just know God. They don't have to be told. They just know.
There's a fullness and a completeness. It's like, now we see through a mirror but dimly, but then we shall see face to face. It's like they're at the face to face thing.
Yeah. For I will be merciful toward their iniquities, and I will remember their sins no more. This is a full restoration of Israel. Romans 11 comparison type of a prophecy. It's really beautiful, and I love it. Verse 13, and speaking of a new covenant, he makes the first one obsolete, and what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away.
And I think, if I'm understanding correctly, it's not vanishing away because he hasn't fulfilled it. It's that it's being fulfilled and being also subsumed by the new one. That it's broader.
Right. Like obsolete, like it's not that the iPhone went away. It's that the iPhone 8 is so much better than the iPhone 1.
And I think also this testifies against the idea of replacement theory of like, we're not being added on to this old covenant, getting these promises. These promises are obsolete and that new things are not being added to the plan, to the phone plan, if you will. And there's new phone plans available that are better, but those who, what this one get what was promised to them.
Yeah.
And more.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think that works. All right. Well, that was all of Hebrews 8. Leviticus 17. So we're talking about
we have been talking about STDs, I think, but I forget if that's how we
did STDs and we did the Day of Atonement. So I think we're talking about the heading here is the place of sacrifice. So we'll see. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to Aaron and his sons and to all the people of Israel and say to them, this is the thing that the Lord has commanded. If anyone of the house of Israel kills an ox or a lamb or a goat in the camp or kills it outside the camp and does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to offer it as a gift to the Lord in front of the tabernacle of the Lord, blood guilt shall be imputed to that man. He has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. This is to the end that the people of Israel may bring their sacrifices that they sacrifice in the open field, that they may bring them to the Lord, to the priest at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and sacrifice them as sacrifices of peace offerings to the Lord. And the priest shall throw the blood on the altar of the Lord at the entrance of the tent of meeting, and burn the fat for a pleasing aroma to the Lord. So they shall no more sacrifice their sacrifices to goat demons after whom they whore. This shall be a statute forever for them throughout their generations.
2 things I'd like to note here.
Yes.
First of all, I can call people horse because it's biblical. I'm kidding.
Be that as it may.
The thing about, yeah, they were sacrificing to goat demons. Like, even as they're being led out of Egypt and following God, they're like making sacrifices along the way just in case. But also, goat demon, I wonder if there's some tying to Azazel where the goat's being returned. I feel like you had thoughts. I'll let you have them.
No, I think you're right with Azazel, especially since it's following directly from the Day of Atonement Azazel stuff from the last. So contextually, it makes sense. My question here, maybe I should have looked this up. It kind of sounds like here, every time they're killing an animal, they need to bring it to the tent of meeting and kill it as a sacrifice. And that it could be the type of offering where they get to keep the majority of the meat and that they're just burning up the fat and the entrails. But it kind of sounds like here, if anyone of the house of Israel kills an ox or a lamb or a goat in the camp or kills it outside the camp and does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to offer it as a gift to the Lord in front of the tabernacle of the Lord, blood guilt shall be imputed to that man. He has shed blood, and that man shall be cut off from among his people. That seems pretty clear.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that seems to be that when they're doing their regular slaughtering of the animals, they're off, like when they're failing to bring it to God and kill it before God, it's going to the goat demon.
Yeah, or potentially, or / and. I'm just looking at the AI overview, so take it all with a grain of salt, but it's seeming to indicate the context of this is talking about the ones they've killed are in the relation of sacrifice. So every sacrifice had to be done at the tent of meeting because it was a way to ensure that nothing was being sacrificed to the goat demons. But I think if you take the broader view of like any animal you kill has to be done in the sight of God for God, is a way to ensure that like then we know if someone's not doing that, it's very clear that it was to a goat demon.
Yes, and I'm wondering, and this is just conjecture. I wish I had looked this up. You can keep searching because once they settle into the promised land, because right now they're in a contained camp, right? Everyone has really close access to the tabernacle, to the tent of meeting. So this is a reasonable rule that anytime you slaughter an animal, it has to be in front of the tent of meeting. It has to be in this way. The fat has to be burned on the altar and all this stuff. But once they settle in the promised land, everyone is like within a couple days journey of the tabernacle and the temple, I should say. And they have holidays a couple times a year where they go up to celebrate those holidays and bring their offerings. But whatever this rule is, if it's that this is the only way you can slaughter this, it seems to only apply to their being in the wilderness time.
Yeah, it also potentially only applies to the animals that would be prime for sacrifice. Deuteronomy 15:2, if an animal has a defect, is lame or blind, or has any serious flaw, you must not sacrifice it to the Lord your God.
Right.
You are to eat it in your own towns.
Yeah, I'm confused by this then.
So I mean, if I'm just going off of like baseline, it's either...
No, never mind. Sorry. Deuteronomy is kind of the reiteration of the law as applied in the promised land as opposed to as applied in the wilderness. But you're still right that they're not supposed to be sacrificing blemished animals.
So they can kill and eat blemished animals. If there's any animal that would be fit for sacrifice, even if they're just going to eat it, I think it still has to be offered to the Lord.
I'm just very confused by the wording of this because the wording seems to be like anytime, okay, it's ox or a lamb or a goat specifically.
So those specific ones that are fit for sacrifice.
Yeah, and maybe that's kind of that understanding is baked in.
The kind of y'all are in probation a little bit.
Right.
Can't be trusted.
Right.
Not to do an
kind of the
idolatry.
same idea as like the rules around the manna were not breakable. Like God gave them the rules, but like even if they tried to break them, even if they tried to gather too much manna, like they couldn't. It wouldn't keep till morning. And maybe this is another one of those kind of rules where it's like the rules are going to be extra tight to break you from this habit of sacrificing to your goat demons.
And I also don't necessarily think it's too onerous of a thing, because you're not killing an animal daily where it's like, oh shoot, I have to go to the tabernacle again. It's like, oh, my monthly kill.
And then you get help with it from the priest. So yeah, I imagine this was not that.
Yeah.
People were probably like, oh good, help slaughtering my animal.
And also this way you can't have like a witch hunt where it was like, well, I thought Jedediah, don't know why his name was Jedediah, that's not Jewish. But anyway, I saw him sacrificing to a goat demon, and Jedediah's like, well, I was just making hot dogs from a cow. But I can't prove that.
Yeah.
Because he brought it over here. Yeah. I
don't know. Verse 8, and you shall say to them, anyone of the house of Israel or of the strangers who sojourn among them who offers a burnt offering or sacrifice and does not bring it to the entrance of the tent of meeting to offer it to the Lord, that man shall be cut off from his people. So that verse seems more clearly like, don't act like you're just going over. I'm like, oh, I swear it's to the Lord. It's over here. Like when you're offering a sacrifice to God, it needs to be in the way that God told you to do the sacrifice to him.
You also can't act as your own priest.
Yeah. Right. Verse 10. If any one of the house of Israel or of the strangers who sojourn among them eats any blood, I will set my face against that person who eats blood and will cut him off from among his people.
So Edward isn't going to heaven.
Correct.
Okay.
For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it for you on the altar to make atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that makes atonement by the life. I think this is really interesting because they wouldn't have known this medically, but life at this point is understood to be like the breath of life, the oxygen in particular, and the blood is what carries oxygen to the different parts of our body that need it. So when it says the life of the flesh is in the blood, it's correct.
No blood, no life.
But they wouldn't have known that.
But also, I think there's more to it in some way. Like
I do too.
If like you've got your soul and your body, and then your spirit rides in the highways of your blood, and you could actually drink someone's spirit.
But then we go back to kind of what we were talking about in the episode we just recorded for Wednesday, which we haven't talked about with you guys, that the spirit and the breath of God are synonymous.
Which is what I was trying to say.
Yes.
It's like you're trying to eat the breath of God from someone else. That's a big no-no. Even from an animal. It does seem like, so I always was taught that, like, animals don't go to heaven, they go to the earth. I think there is a verse that kind of indicates that, but there is a way that, like, animals aren't just set dressing. Like, we can't eat their blood. It's not like, oh,
they do have meaning.
Yeah, they're not people, but they're not nothing.
Yeah, well, I think the idea is, if I understand correctly, and that animals have body and spirit. They have breath of God. Humans have body and soul and spirit. But breath of God, spirit, is still a meaningful thing.
Yeah. And it's like, it's in some respects like respecting the office of president, even if the president himself sucks.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Of like, if God's breath is in this thing, you better respect that.
Yeah, even if it's Boots and he's a jerk.
I do think it's interesting. More cat slander.
No, it was dog slander previously.
That's true. It was dog slander in the other episode. In the beginning, no one was eating animals.
Yes.
And it was a really big deal that God killed an animal to clothe Adam and Eve and to cover their sin. And in the beginning, the only time you were killing an animal was for sacrifice to God. That was the first thing, right? And then after the flood, it's not until after the flood that God says, these animals are for eating. You can eat these animals. And I'm going to put fear of you into them. So like this simultaneous making it fair to the animals that like they're not going to have the same relationship with you that they used to have, except for the dodos. Now they're going to run when they see you because you're going to eat them.
Side note. So if animals are kept alive by the breath of God, say that's in the blood. So God was already sacrificing his breath for us by instituting sacrifice of animals. every single sacrifice was
Yeah.
literally a pre-type of him sacrificing himself in his
Yeah.
entirety.
Because if you understand that crucifixion as a method of killing was torture, but the way that it killed you was asphyxiation.
Yeah.
Because you would reach a point where you couldn't push up to get air anymore. So yeah, that's really interesting observation there, Liz.
Thanks. That's why you pay me the big bucks.
That's why we pay you
Whole
the big
packet of
bucks.
dried sweet potatoes.
That's what we paid her today. No,
anyway,
Liz eats a snack from my house. That's your payment.
Don't do 2 snacks though. You have to do more shows for that.
1 snack per show. Okay. For the life of the flesh is in the blood, and I have given it for you on the altar to make. Yeah, I have given it. I have given the life.
Like he's giving his life on the.
Yeah, I have given it
Never
for
thought
you
of that before.
to make atonement for your souls, for it is the blood that makes atonement by the life. Therefore, I have said to the people of Israel, no person among you shall eat blood, neither shall any stranger who sojourns among you eat blood. Anyone also of the people of Israel or of the strangers who sojourn among them, who takes in hunting any beast or bird that may be eaten, shall pour out its blood and cover it with earth. For the life of every creature is its blood is its life. Therefore, I have said to the people of Israel, you shall not eat the blood of any creature, for the life of every creature is its blood. Whoever eats it shall be cut off. And every person who eats what dies of itself or what is torn by beasts, whether he is a native or a sojourner, he shall wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and be unclean until the evening. Then he shall be clean. But if he does not wash them or bathe his flesh, he shall bear his iniquity.
I also it might be quibbling because there's not a lot of places for the blood to go, but I think I wonder if there's anything significant about the blood has to return to the earth. It has to all go back to the earth. Or if that's just where else would it go? The sky? Like levitating blood orbs? What are we gonna do?
This may be a food safety issue of don't put it in the water. Don't put it.
Oops. I have to make a phone call. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. I don't know. Yeah. There's a proper disposal of this.
Go ahead. Yeah.
To the ground, dust. For dust you are, to dust you will return. I wonder if there's something in there, but
that's what I was thinking.
Okay.
But also a more morbid thought. What if all the blood that soaks into the earth just slowly seeps downward? It doesn't dissipate, doesn't dry out. The earth is just at the core is just filled with hot roiling blood.
Wow, Liz. No, there is something interesting about that. There's
because blood calls out from the ground. We're gonna talk about that in our next, not the one you guys are gonna see, but the next after.
Yeah, Abel's blood calling out from the ground,
and Jesus' blood speaking about our word.
Because it's God's breath, and God's breath is the same thing that creates his word, which created everything. So there's stuff. There's stuff there. There's stuff there. But we'll talk about it more.
More on this later at 10.
More on
stuff later at 10.
Okay, let's see. Unlawful sexual relations.
Don't sound too excited. or more it looks like you're going to hate this one.
And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, speak to the people of Israel and say to them, I am the Lord your God. You shall not do as they do in the land of Egypt where you lived, and you shall not do as they do in the land of Canaan to which I am bringing you. You shall not walk in their statutes. You shall follow my rules and keep my statutes and walk in them. I am the Lord your God. You shall therefore keep my statutes and my rules. If a person does them, he shall live by them. I am the Lord. I think it's always very tempting for churches to conform to the culture that they're in. And I think that things like modesty are in large part defined by the culture. The culture you're in kind of determines what is a sexual symbol and what's not, and then you need to conform along those lines. So there's ways that culture informs the meaning of something.
Yeah.
Where if I'm in a culture where showing my hair is a sign of sexual availability, then to be modest would be to cover my hair.
Not so. And there's one culture, I forget where it's some sort of European one where to shave your legs indicates you're a prostitute.
Oh yeah, so definitely don't do that.
Shave your legs.
Yeah, modesty is a heart issue, and the culture is going to inform. But for most things, you shouldn't be letting the culture that you're in determine what rules you follow.
Be in the world, but not of it.
Yes, with modesty, it's kind of you follow the rule. and the culture is going to help inform like how exactly
how to be modest.
how to be modest. What that means. Because modesty is for other people. So how something affects them is going to be informed by culture. Anyway, that is way too much on that. But God's saying like, you have an example of Egypt. You're coming out of the Egypt example, and I don't want you to be like them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm giving you rules that are not like them. And you're going into a place, and I don't want you to be like them either. And I think that as churches, we there are so many things where we're like, it's not fair. We're like alienated from the people around us.
Just non-threatening or
yeah, or like, why do you have to be all holier than thou? Why do you all
literally being more set apart than them is the point.
Why are you judgmental? But it's God's like, no, I want to give you a better way. I don't want you to be like them. I want to give you a better way, because I'm your God.
Also, side note, because I was thinking about this the other day, in relation to the why do you have to be so judgmental? I think this is an example of people adding something onto a word, or adding something onto a topic. So if I say X, Y, Z thing is sinful, and if you are doing it, you're sinning. That's actually not passing any judgment. That's stating a simple fact. Judgment would be saying, and therefore I am sending you to hell for that.
Yeah.
Like if it were up to me, I would send you to hell. I think there's more to it than that, but like it is not judgmental to say what you are doing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It would be, I think, judgmental to say you're doing it wrong because you have a bad heart and because you have a bad personality and you suck as a person.
You're judging the thoughts and intentions of their heart.
Yes. But to say we are allowed to call sin.
Yes.
And to say that you're being judgmental for that is incorrect.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Verse 6. This is the good stuff, guys. None of you shall approach any one of his close relatives to uncover nakedness. Of course, uncovering nakedness is a euphemism for sexual activity.
No, just like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
I am the Lord. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father, which is the nakedness of your mother. She is your mother. You shall not uncover her nakedness. Don't sleep with your mom. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife. It is your father's nakedness. Don't sleep. Like, even if she's not your mom, even if your father remarried after having you, don't sleep with her.
Yes.
You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's. Oh, sorry. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your sister, your father's daughter, or your mother's daughter, whether brought up in the family or in another home. So I love the specificity. Like, it does not matter if she's your half sister. It does not matter if she's in another home. Do not do it.
Like, I shouldn't even have to say this, guys.
I do think it's interesting. Yes. This another home piece is making it really clear that the issue is genetic, and they would not know this. Yeah. It's the issue, because they would be like, I think they would be like, oh yeah, like it's weird. I grew up. Okay. I don't know how this culture thought of it, but the way that we think of it is like, oh, it's weird if we grew up in the same place.
Yes.
But it's weird because genetically. And I think that what is happening here, because God understands what's going on scientifically in such a big way. And I think that the progression here is interesting, that God never changes, but because humanity changes and Earth changes, there are times where God updated rules to reflect what was going on.
Like a degrading DNA and such.
Right. So in the beginning, like, there was just Adam and Eve and Adam and Eve's children, and they all married each other.
They had to.
Like, there was nobody else. Yeah. But also, there was nothing wrong with that or even weird about that, because one, there wasn't another option to compare it to. So they weren't like, who? My sister. Like,
oh, I can't marry you. We're going to have to let the human race die. We didn't think it through.
Right. It's only when there are other options that it becomes weirder to marry a close relative. And then when you get to Abraham's married to his half sister. But when you get here, it's like, nope, no more sisters, no more. And so God's updating this to say no more sisters, no more aunts, no more close relatives like this. And then we get, obviously, God didn't directly do this, but we get to medieval Europe and we start to realize, okay, we're having some problems with the cousin marrying.
Yeah.
Because we start to see the medical issues with cousin marrying. Yes. And so now we have our own like cultural laws against marrying cousins.
Except in like West Virginia, I think you can, or no, there's one of the states. I remember this because the pastor at one of my churches said it and someone cheered.
What?
I was like, why did you just cheer in church over being able to marry your cousin?
So
This is a little odd.
weird.
Like, I think it was as a joke, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Um,
But like we've kind of and now I think that we should probably start to make some laws against second cousins because the DNA is degrading.
Well, side note here. A lot of Palestinian propaganda, they'll have like a twisted, malnourished, shriveled person with a bunch of other like fat, healthy people being like, look at this person who's starving. And it's often because they do a lot of incest and this is the genetic perversion that results. And they're using that for propaganda to claim it's a starving person, but it's just because they're inbred.
Yeah.
But also, I think I agree 100% in terms of the genetics, but I think there is a moral development here in terms of I am creating stronger safeguards around the family. The rules are more clearly defined.
Yes.
To protect the family, because even just if you're just looking at it from the genetic standpoint, you could still be like, oh, gee, I wish I could marry her. And you're not even supposed to want to do that. You're not supposed to see these people in a certain way. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, like what Absalom did was really evil.
Yeah.
With his sister. That's in 1st or 2nd Samuel if you're curious about that story. It's not a fun story.
And
but
also, the Bible talks about like something didn't become sin until the law, and then it became sin or something like that. I'm quoting badly.
Yeah.
I think once God was like, don't do these things, the devil was like, ooh, what if I make this like a twisted thing and pervert it more?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where are we? 10, verse 10. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your son's daughter or of your daughter's daughter, for their nakedness is your own nakedness. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's wife's daughter, brought up in your father's family, since she is your sister. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your, so like a step. I do think it's saying, right? A stepsister is your sister.
Yeah, it's got to be
your father's wife's daughter, brought up in your father's family, since she is your sister. Yeah. That's a stepdaughter.
Yeah.
You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's sister. She is your father's relative. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your mother's sister, for she is your mother's relative. I want to go back to this one thing. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your son's daughter or of your daughter's daughter, for their nakedness is your own nakedness. That line is so fascinating because it's like you're harming your own line. You're harming your own. Like this is wrong. It's a sin against yourself almost.
Yeah.
In your yeah.
Because the genetics have already been diluted through you, and then you're going to dilute them further. It's actually worse, I think, than going back up to the source and getting more genetic material. If I'm right.
I think so.
There's a case, the Whitaker family in West Virginia, who are severely inbred. They had like twins marrying multiple times or something like that. Like they're so inbred. The current generation, one guy just like only barks. He's not capable of speech. They're all like severely retarded. They're interesting. You should look them up.
Now I gotta wonder, like, what if one of the causes of autism? I think there's a lot of causes of autism because autism's like got a lot of. It's a big umbrella.
Yeah,
but you gotta wonder if some of it's like genetic degradation, where it's like maybe we shouldn't be marrying second cousins. Maybe we should be all 23andMeing very carefully. Or I think there's a level of inbreeding. I know there's a level of inbreeding that's happening with IVF that people don't realize with donors.
I was going to say
same donors.
And there are supposed to be limits in place so that doesn't happen. But there was one guy who like fathered like 100 people that way. Yeah, I think every time we do something, it's a Faustian bargain.
Yep.
I should have clarified more, but like I feel like every time we do something, it's a Faustian bargain. It just works also.
Yes. Okay, let's see. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your father's brother. That is, you shall not approach his wife. She is your aunt.
So even when you're not related. So go ahead, yeah.
Yes, even when you're not related. There's also like there's a couple different things happening. There's the scientific genetic thing, but there's also, like you said, like these are roles. Like you should not be sleeping with your aunt, period. Like
even if she divorced your brother.
Yeah, or your brother died.
Yeah, or your father's brother, I mean.
Yeah.
There's
father's brother.
A certain spiritual hierarchy.
Yeah. It's in this idea of like the nakedness. The nakedness of your father's brother The nakedness of his wife is the nakedness of your father's brother. So this kind of idea that in the metaphor here, that when you approach the wife, you are uncovering the nakedness of the husband.
Because they're one flesh.
Because they're one flesh. And just like there's a spiritual and physical significance to doing these things, and God's like, stop.
Yeah, and also it's because it's interesting because he could just be like, don't go after anyone who's married. But
right.
there's like more like additional, yeah.
Specifically these close family members, because you're supposed to be honoring like these roles. You were right in saying that.
Sometimes
verse 15, you shall not uncover the nakedness of your daughter-in-law. She is your son's wife. You shall not uncover her nakedness. Verse 16, you shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness.
There is something about, like, I've heard multiple like Reddit stories and TikTok stories of like, I found out my husband was cheating on me with my mom. There is nothing that tears a family apart more than that.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
Now, I don't think so. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness. Obviously, this no longer applies if the brother dies, because that law is still in him. That idea, the kinsman redeemer, is still in place in Ruth, I believe, unless the direct because it's also presented to Jesus.
In the law.
That a bunch of different brothers married the same woman. Okay.
Yeah, so I think it must be in that respect. It's like you do not even consider her as a dating material because you would so shame your brother by doing that. But also, if you're free and he dies, you could be your brother in that capacity.
I guess, yeah. Well, that's the idea in that situation, that you are being your brother.
Yeah.
That you are giving her a child with your brother's last name.
And also, like, if you were to sleep with your brother's wife while he is living and she gets pregnant, suddenly you have hijacked his family line. Like, his firstborn is your firstborn. That's like you've subsumed your brother.
Yeah, these are high crimes. These, I think, part of what's being said here is that like these are, like you said, more serious than just sleeping with any random married person. Like that's already a serious thing. To break someone's marriage, but to do it within your own family is really wicked.
Way more like ripples. I think this section, what was the section titled? What's the beginning? It's not super duper important.
Unlawful sexual relations.
I feel like instead it should just be don't be a pervert.
Don't be a pervert. Yeah. Okay. You shall not uncover the nakedness of your brother's wife. It is your brother's nakedness. So I guess the idea is if your brother dies, she's no longer your brother's wife.
Yeah.
Okay. You shall not uncover the nakedness of a woman and of her daughter.
So you can't have multiple generations within a family.
Yeah. Even if one, I think a lot of this is like, even if one died, like,
yeah, there's a certain respect for the stratification of
the Mormon John Smith did this, by the way. He slept with a woman and her daughter.
Yeah, he had a lot of issues.
For the Mormons, if you're watching this, that's a pretty direct, clear violation.
I also think it's worth noting, like, he claimed to be a prophet. The prophets in the Bible were not perverts in any way. It wasn't like, oh, they were only, flawed people. Like, they were not doing this kind of thing.
David was a little bit.
Yeah.
but the prophets were not.
Yeah, he wasn't like the,
Yeah. And you shall not take her son's daughter or her daughter's daughter to uncover her nakedness. They are relatives. It is depravity. And you shall not take a woman as a rival wife to her sister, uncovering her nakedness while her sister is still alive. This is interesting because this is another update where Abraham did this.
Yeah.
Jacob did this.
Abraham didn't take a rival.
I'm sorry.
Sister.
You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
Jacob.
Jacob did this.
And it caused so much grief.
And later on, we see that Hannah's husband had done it. So there are still, it goes on where people in Israel continue to do this and get away with it for whatever reason.
I wouldn't say they get away with it. They just don't see the repercussions until they die.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It is not saying you can't take two women. It's saying you can't take
two sisters.
Yeah,
you're
right.
That's what I was
So Hannah's husband did not do. Elkanah did not.
I was trying to say. I was like, maybe I forgot. But
Jacob did. Yeah, Jacob did.
I think It is interesting to me that it doesn't seem like there's any point where polygamy is strictly disavowed in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, there are regulations, but I think we also do see like ample evidence of why it is just
I think it
not
was
honoring to God.
I think the primary and maybe the only reason why polygamy was allowed for as long as it was is that it allowed women it ensured that even if women outnumbered men in a given generation because of war or anything like that, they would be able to get married and taken care of and be able to have children, and that women wouldn't be left out in the cold.
I think it was less about God being like, yeah, men can be gluttons for sexual stuff and women are just stuck with whatever. It was,
It was ensuring that women would be taken care of.
Yeah.
But this is here to like, don't do this cruel thing of marrying two sisters.
Yeah. Also potentially, if a lot of these men were like, just very, I don't know. I'm kind of going on a limb here, like a super sexed up man. Like if you want several wives, you're probably super sexed up. So that one wife doesn't have to, suffer through all that if that's not her thing. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Of like, you need it multiple times a day. You're like, have a couple different wives,
have a roster. I don't know.
Okay, I think that this verse is saying to me that I might have said something wrong in the last episode. I can't remember what I said about this, but there was a lot of different rules around menstruation and other stuff, and I didn't see this particular thing about not being allowed to sleep with a woman while she was on her period, but it does say, you shall not approach a woman to uncover her nakedness while she is in her menstrual uncleanness.
It did say, I think on the last one, that like if you did, you were unclean, but I think it's just clarifying. Don't just be like, oh, well, I guess I'll be unclean for 7 days. It's like, actually, you're not allowed to do this. This is why
right. Okay. Good call.
That's my take.
Yeah, I think that's right. Verse 20, and you shall not lie sexually with your neighbor's wife, and so make yourself unclean with her. So again, it's kind of broadening out of like, don't do it with your family members. Also, don't go to your neighbor's wife.
You shall not covet thy neighbor's oxen and wife and grill.
You shall not give any of your children to offer them to Moloch, and so profane the name of your God. I am the Lord. So child sacrifice, bad.
Don't be doing that.
And I think this is interesting that this is in the context of sexual sin.
Yeah, it's wedged right in there. I think Epstein kind of.
Yes, and I think the idea of like, this is your line. We're talking about sins against your line.
Oh, true. Yeah. Sins against your line, sins against the family.
Yeah.
Like you're supposed to consider your children as like important to you.
Right? You shall not lie with a male as with a woman. It is an abomination.
Yep.
And you shall not lie with any animal, and so make yourself unclean with it. Neither shall any woman give herself to an animal to lie with it. It is perversion.
This is like
really clear stuff, guys.
It's like when there's a label of like, don't fold a stroller while the baby's inside, and someone's done it, and that's why it's being said. Anyway,
the whole more and more like furries are becoming mainstream in the United States of like killing stuff where we're not quite as a culture to where we're like actively sleeping with animals. I think it's probably happening. I'm sure it's happening,
it is.
But that's not being like publicized as like I'm a animal sexual. But it's like people identifying as furries is like one step away of like, I'm an animal and all my sexual fantasies are about having sex with another animal who's just right now is a human pretending to be an animal, but we're not very far away.
If it were legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, in whatever time period it was, ages ago, I know you've heard this, I'm saying it again. Muslims invented the condom out of the intestines of a sheep or a goat. And then the British people came along in like the 1600s and improved that by removing the intestine from the animal first.
Yes. Islam is so disgusting.
Yes.
It's so disgusting.
They're not the only culture that screws animals. There's like I forget where it is. It's like a South American. Those two guys, like the British guys who do like a car show. I forget exactly. It's like a TV show where they drive around cars, do crazy stuff. They once visited this culture where they're interviewing and they're talking about like, yeah, we all take our turns with that animal. It's like how we get our energy off, and like they talk about it like it's super normal. And they're like laughing at the people for thinking it's weird. And they were like, we're leaving right now. We're going.
Yeah. Wow.
So.
Yeah. Really perverted. It's a,
some cultures are wrong and bad. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There are some things where it's like, that's an individual problem. But I think the individual problems stack up into cultural problems. And when an entire culture is like, yeah, it's totally normal to sleep with animals, it's like, that's a really gross, disgusting culture. And we should probably not mix with that culture as much as possible.
That culture we can be racist against. Absolutely.
And because of the culture.
Yeah. It's not
because of the race.
It's not the skin color.
Yep.
Culturist against.
Yep.
It is okay to be xenophobic. Some cultures screw animals. More on this at 10.
Verse 24. Do not make yourself unclean by any of these things, for by all these, the nations I am driving you out before you have become unclean. Isn't the Bible saying exactly what we were just saying?
Yep.
That the nations, these whole nations become unclean by doing these things. And the land became unclean, so that I punished its iniquity, and the land vomited out its inhabitants.
I think it's also worth noting that these things are late stage culture decline. And it's not long after these things start happening that God's like, you're done.
I do wonder, I don't want to make too much of this, because I think that there's some immigration that's like Irish potato famine, and then the Irish come here and like, fine. But the idea of like the land vomiting out its inhabitants, and then what happens when you mass accept inhabitants that
have been vomited out
because they were so unclean that they made the land so unclean that the land vomited them out. And then you take them into your own land, and they are going to make your land unclean too.
Yeah. Also just like connected, but not the same. A lot of the people coming from South America as immigrants are the, what are they called? Inmates. The like people who are,
like
bad offenders who are being sent up to us by those countries because they don't want them anymore.
Yeah, because it's like masquerading as immigration, but it's actually just
Australia
warfare. Yeah, they're just using the United States as a penal colony because they don't want to house their own criminals. Anyway, we're off track. But verse 26. But you shall keep my statutes and my rules, and do none of these abominations, either the native or the stranger who sojourns among you. For the people of the land who were before you did all of these abominations, so that the land became unclean, lest the land vomit you out when you make it unclean, as it vomited out the nation that was before you. For everyone who does any of these abominations, the persons who do them shall be cut off from among their people. So keep my charge never to practice any of these abominable customs that were practiced before you, and never to make yourselves unclean by them. I am the Lord your God.
So another thing is the culture is very big on like, we're destroying the world and global warming is happening and the earth is getting destroyed out from beneath us. And it's like, well, maybe we're reaching a point where the entire earth is going to vomit out all of us. Because we're so degraded. It's not about what we've done to the environment. Like that's a reflection of the deep sin and stuff that is making land sick.
Yeah. I do think it's also of note that like that whole chapter was, like you said, late stage cultural decline stuff. That whole category was that, and God warned Israel about it, and indeed the land did vomit them out.
Yes. And sorry.
And they were scattered among the nations, and God is in the process now of bringing them back, like he said that he would, in a variety of different places, notably Ezekiel, that we have read on the channel before.
But it's like it was a significant vomiting to the point where only 2 tribes are accounted for. So it's not like we'll be fine. We'll survive the vomiting and thrive.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we are.
Oh, we're actually, wow, I didn't realize that.
We're 10 minutes before the hour, but we would have to do a whole, like, I don't think I would rather stop there than try to do all of chapter 19.
We can just use the last 10 minutes for me to sing Radioactive Shrimp from Walmart.
Please. Let's
see with you.
Not. No, Leviticus is really interesting because the law no longer, like, maybe we should read Galatians again at the end of this study. It's easy to read in one night, and it can kind of help wrap up this conversation about the law and kind of explain. I am bad at explaining like what the role of the law is and like how it is over, to what extent it is over, and to what extent there are parts of it that are still important, or parts of it that the people of Israel in particular are supposed to continue upholding. because I think there's a lot of people who read those like very strict, you shall not lie with a man as with a woman, and go, well, yeah, but that's the old law.
Mhm.
What are you also not going to wear cotton and linen together
Like,
or something
actually,
like
it might be healthier if you didn't. 'Cause there is a reason why God said those things.
right.
Mhm.
Or some of these other things.
Mhm.
And I think it's difficult to parse out because
Mhm.
there are things I I do think when God says, "Don't do this," it is an abomination.
Yes.
Don't do this, it is a perversion. It's not gonna stop being an
Mhm.
abomination or a perversion. But when God says, "Don't cook a goat in its mother's milk," he doesn't say, "It's a perversion." He just says,
Mhm.
"Don't do it."
Yeah.
And I think that there are things like that where they have a specific time and place for the people and the place and the time that he's giving them to, and things like that are no longer, um, of concern.
We
Certainly, the system of sacrifices is done.
we do see some of the stuff that we talked about today reiterated in, I think it was like First Corinthians or Second Corinthians, where Paul's like, "One of y'all was sleeping with what his mom or his aunt or something."
Mhm,
Um, I think like the Galatians talks about like the law as a guardian
mhm,
until we come of age. I think that in some respects, it's like the spirit of law versus letter of the law thing. We take for granted the Holy Spirit convicting us when something is wrong.
mhm,
Before then, they needed, I think, to just be very explicitly laid out everything that is wrong and bad. Don't do that.
mhm,
Whereas now with the Holy Spirit, it's not that we have to sit and be like, we're going to follow all the tenets of the law. It's like the Holy Spirit tells us what is wrong and bad.
mhm,
And also we understand the why.
mhm,
So it's like those things are wrong and bad because of the root thing of like, don't be sexually perverted just in
mhm.
general. I
Yeah.
don't know. I'm kind of not explaining
Yeah,
well.
no, I think that there's also, like, different things are there for different reasons. Like,
Mhm.
there are a bunch of things that God said, "Hey, don't do this because it will spread disease." And
Yes.
some things he was like, "Hey, do this way because this is
Mhm.
how I want you to do this." And there are some things where he
Mhm.
said, "Don't do this because it's perverted and wrong and evil and I hate it."
Yes.
And that category of
Yeah.
things I
Don't do those
don't
things.
think is has been fulfilled or abolished or like
Yeah.
that's just him telling you what is evil.
Yes.
Don't do it.
Mhm.
And you
Versus
do see all of that repeated in the New Testament.
yeah, versus like the ceremonial or like the lower level law of like don't wear this thing or don't eat shrimp and whatever.
Right.
Radioactive shrimp from Walmart. Uh
And stuff that was on the line where you
yes.
could be like, maybe it's perverted to eat shrimp was specifically updated in the New Testament.
Yeah, and like now we understand why it was a problem to eat shrimp.
Yeah.
Um and also in my opinion it still is because why would you want to eat ocean bugs? But
Radioactive shrimp from Walmart.
right, one bite lets you glow in the dark.
Yes.
But so what I was gonna say is that like a lot of the cities in like the medieval times who didn't follow these rules or whatever
Mhm,
because they were just like European cities were gross and they had like disease spread through them like wildfire. But what Israel had as a model was like
mhm,
the cleanest, safest society.
mhm.
So it's like even if it's not a matter of right and wrong, it's just a matter of prudence to be like maybe we should take lessons from the literal creator of the universe who knows how to run a city
Yeah. Yeah.
as a thought, just as a thought.
I do think if you're gonna
Mhm,
it maybe a good rule of thumb, I think,
mhm.
when you're reading Leviticus and you hear a command,
Yes.
say, "Why was this command given?"
Mhm.
Is this a command regarding sacrifice that's been fulfilled?
Yes.
Is this a command regarding a feast that's been fulfilled, but God said that Israel should still continue to
Mhm,
observe it throughout their generations? Is this circumcision that's been fulfilled?
mhm,
Um, in which case, I think the things that have been fulfilled, if you choose to continue them, like I've circumcised my boys for
mhm,
medical reasons and not religious ones, if you're following these things not in a, oh no, I'm going to go to hell if I don't do these things, or
mhm,
I'm not going to be right before God if I don't do all this law, you're not, then that's fine. But things that have been fulfilled,
mhm,
if you can go, yep, that's the fulfillment of that, then you're good to not
mhm,
continue to follow them. Or if you can point to, okay, there's the update, I'm allowed to eat these now.
mhm,
And Jesus said, it's not what goes in your mouth that makes you unclean. There's an update, even sometimes not to the specific command, but to the spirit of the command where explains like, hey, this is what uncleanness actually means. And so
mhm.
any of the law around uncleanness gets updated at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because he he explains like what that's about.
Mm-hmm.
But then if you see a command like you shall not lie with a man as with a woman, for it is an abomination,
Yeah.
that's not been fulfilled.
Yeah.
And that's clearly not just about cleanliness.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't say, and you'll be unclean and you need to bathe in like,
right.
He says it's an abomination.
And that gets referenced again in Romans later on.
Yeah.
And
Because Romans goes through that same concept of like
Mhm.
late stage cultural decline
Yep.
types of perversions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
The spiritual world is flat, and there's an edge which you can fall off of.
Fair enough. Into hell.
Yes, exactly. Good talk.
Yeah, but we can see how our country is in this late stage cultural decline.
It's bad.
Decline.
And I think it's interesting because even the non-Christians can sense it, but they're diagnosing it as late stage capitalism. They're getting the late stage right.
Yeah.
It's the other part that they're not getting right.
It's not the capitalism that's the problem here.
Kind of not our biggest fish to fry at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to pray to close this out. Dear Lord, thank you so much for this day. Thank you for the recordings we were able to do on Liz's Soul Sleep episode for next Wednesday and this one for Monday, which is hopefully when people will be listening to it, unless we forget to put it out again. Sorry. That sorry was not to God, but to the listeners, because I don't think I have to apologize to God for that, but I'll let him let me know about that. This prayer has gotten so off the rails. Thank you. Pray this blesses people in your name, amen.
Good.
I
Yes.
veered into doing what I hate.
Yes, expository praying.
When pastors or just anybody does, where they like get distracted in their prayer to God and start praying with an audience of somebody else that's not God, and they're like start going, and I pray that Liz would know that I just really like her sweater and just I hate that kind of
prayer. And I pray that Abby would know thank you. Yeah. Sorry, you hate that.
So I apologize for doing that to you guys. Because that is not
you should pray that in a prayer.
Dear Lord, I pray that everyone would just know that I'm sorry. And please fix Liz's snort. Just kidding. Love you guys. Thanks for coming. And good night.
Night.